Good morning. Welcome to the House Corrections Subcommittee. It is Tuesday, March 12th, and I will call the House Corrections Subcommittee to order. Clerk, take the roll, please.
Representative Butler. Here. Representative Eldridge. Here. Representative Hurt.
Here.
Representative Kiesling. Representative McCalman. Representative Miller. Right. Representative Powell. Did I miss one? How was our Hurt? That's what I said. You.
Miller. Yeah, we're good.
Oh. So where did
I Hurt?
Oh, that's one. Okay. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Members, we have 3 bills on the calendar today. Any personal orders? Representative Butler, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to recognize my daughter with me today. She took off a day of work to come up here and spend the day with her dad. So I just want to recognize her for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other personal orders, members? Okay, we'll move to our calendar. We do have 3 bills on calendar today. Number 1, we will roll to the Hill. And number 2, House Bill 2959. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'll try to be brief. This bill creates a committee to study the establishment of incarcerated parenting plans. We have parenting plans in place in the civil courts right now for parents to be able to administer responsible parenting, whether they are on good terms or not. It shouldn't matter. The children are the priority. What we found over the years is that, and there's statistical evidence that backs this up, is that unfortunately the children of incarcerated parents are more likely to enter the criminal justice system or the juvenile justice system than children who do not have incarcerated parents. And if you've got both parents incarcerated, the odds go up even more. So with that brief description, I'll ask for any questions and then an affirmative vote to move it to the next level so we can save our children.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that presentation. Members, any questions? We do have some guests from DHS on the list if we need them for questions or if y'all require them. So just let me know if you would like that to happen. But Representative Butler, you are recognized.
Thank you, Representative, for this bill. I'm curious, what are you trying to specifically study? I know it says relationships, but what are you trying to determine, or what do we hope would be the goal of this piece of legislation?
Sponsor.
Thank you for the question. And what we want to establish is responsibility on the part of those parents who are paying for their mistakes. Surely, if anyone's going to be able to communicate back to the child the right way to go versus the wrong way to go, it's going to be a responsible parent. Now, I keep emphasizing responsible parent. Being a parent and being a responsible parent are 2 different animals. If we're going to be able to save those children from the likelihood of following the parents are going to be the most likely ally in helping to get those children focused on the positive things, giving those life lessons that will help them not just avoid encounters with the justice system, but to actually move their lives along to where they are productive citizens. And we need to know what we're doing before we start formalizing plans. That's why I'm asking for the study. And the study is actually a result of a conference that DHS had on fatherhood a few months back. And I sat in, and this was part of the discussion.
Chairman.
Follow up, Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I mean, we know that children that have family members incarcerated or parents that are incarcerated, or obviously you mentioned this in your initial statements, are more likely to be in the system, let's say. So do we know how many inmates would participate in this program? Because they would have to be willing to participate in this. And I think you're right. If we have a parent that's incarcerated for whatever the case may be, whatever their crime is, I think they're probably positioned to encourage their children to take a different path and hopefully not end up in the same situation. Do we know how many inmates would participate in a program like this?
Sponsor, you recognize.
Thank you, Chairman. And we don't have exact numbers yet. We haven't done that kind of surveying or that kind of deep dive into it. And that's the purpose, once again, of the study, to give us that data, so we'll know who to design the programs for. We'll be able to get the psychologists and psychiatrists and the social counselors and all the other experts to give us input, so we'll do it correctly.
Good.
You good? Next on the list, I have Representative Miller. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the bill. It is permissive. It's a study. Who would do this study, and who will come back with the results of the study and the recommendations, and when would they do that?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
Thank you. And we've identified in the bill, and I don't have the bill before me, but I can tell you that there are state agencies that will be pulled into the process, and the report will come back to the Civil Justice Committee of the House, the Judiciary Committee of the Senate, and I'm certainly not going to object if Mr. Chairman wants to add this fine committee to that list.
Thank you for that, and I'm going to support the bill because your presentations are short, so I appreciate that.
Thank you for that. And if I might add, a few dates in here to kind of build on your question there, Representative Miller. The bill also requires study committee's timely report and its initial findings and recommendations to the Civil Justice Subcommittee and the Judiciary Committee of the Senate by December 1st, 2024, including a copy of any model incarcerated parenting plan and any proposed legislation. The study committee must issue a final report by February 1st, 2025, at which time the study committee ceases to exist. So a couple of dates there for you. All right. Any other questions or comments to the sponsor? Questions been called. Without objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 2959. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Your bill moves on to full state committee. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members.
Next on the list, number 3, we have House Bill 2444. Sponsor, you are recognized. Have a motion and a second. You are properly before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. What House Bill 2444 does, basically we had passed and put in for inmates that were doing work programs or whether it was under the supervision of an armed law enforcement or correction officer. And then it stated also that they must remain in direct eyesight of the law enforcement or correction officer. We had a business that came to me that uses inmate labor as a rehab type program. This company is running about a 95, 96% success rate. These people are working, they're getting their lives back in order. It's an asset to the community. It's an asset to their family. It's an asset for that individual. They come out and they're productive citizens and they're remaining. But it created an issue so we had some conversation with the Sheriff's Association and they were supportive of this amendment that basically as long as the sheriff and the judge, relative judge or the relevant judge signs off for these to be, and what they're doing, they're taking them there, drop them off, and then they pick them up that afternoon. So, and then they're doing their shift at work. So that's basically what this amendment does, is just allows them to be able to go to these factories and plants and be able to work and become productive citizens and kind of a rehab type program as such.
Thank you for that. Members, any questions, comments for the sponsor? Chairman Keesling, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Hale, and I'm reading the caption, so I don't have, let's see, where it says whether paid or unpaid without using an electronic monitoring device. So these workers would not be wearing a device then. Is that correct? Or is that optional for the sheriff to decide?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
What was happening with these private companies, the one particular was BTM Industries in Grundy County. They are run usually about 6 to 10 employees. They're having to pay $2,000 a year, so it's costing them an extra $2,000 plus to pay for the leg bands and do this. This would just, it's almost penalizing them for trying to rehab. So this would just remove that requirement for them.
Oh. Okay.
And it would be signed off by the judge and the sheriff both in the county.
I got a better understanding. Okay. Thank you, Representative Hale, and thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Chairman Eldridge, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And I think, when we passed this bill last year for the monitors, it kind of had maybe some unintended consequences there. And we saw it up in Hamlin County and, in some of our jail to jobs programs up there. So I think this is kind of making that correction, but it still has oversight by the judge and the sheriff as to who should be wearing a monitor and who should not. Is that correct?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Representative Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify one thing. All these individuals that are in these work programs are really considered trustees, correct?
Sponsor.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's really kind of redundant to even have this monitoring devices on folks that we consider trustees. I know I have Morgan County Correctional in my district, and they have inmates that go out and do work programs and help churches and so forth. And they don't have monitoring devices, but they're under the supervision of the correctional facility. So, I support your bill. I think it's a good idea. Let's keep it simple and keep the cost down.
Thank you. Sponsor, follow up.
Thank you for that.
I'll take just a second here. This legislation came through last year, and if I remember correctly, I'm not confused. I remember worrying that it may put a cost on our people that are participating, and made a call to a county north of me that I knew participated in this program and some of the businesses, and they told me, they said, well, if it's a cost to us, we're probably not going to continue to be a part of it. And the county said, oh, we felt like this wouldn't affect us and put a cost on it. So, obviously we let things get through with good intentions and have some consequences, but I do think this allows this process to be used in certain situations, but then sign off between the judge and the sheriff situations, which are more of trustee type individuals, where this wouldn't be effective. So I appreciate you bringing it, fixing that mistake, and hopefully we'll continue these programs and participation in them moving forward. Question's been called. Without objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 2444. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. You are moving on to State Government Full Committee.
Thank you, Committee and Chair.
Thank you, sir. All right, members, that brings us to the Hill, which is back to HJR 0856. I do not see the sponsor. Members, we're going to recess briefly, and since this is our last calendar, I want to recess briefly, and we will see if we can get the intentions of the sponsor. We are back in session. Members, we are going to roll HJR 0856 to next week's calendar. Without objection, it'll be rolled to next week's calendar. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you, members.